Hi hardworking students. Today I'm going to read the story Bogart for you all. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it down into 3 parts. Right? So I'm going to start with part 1, which will be like the first 2 pages, and part 2, then I'll do that one, and then part 3. So this is our text, vs Naipaul, Miguel Street. And I'm going to start now. Bogart. Every morning when he got up, Hat would sit on the banister of his back veranda and shout across, "What happening there, Bogart?" Bogart would turn in his bed and mumble softly so that no one heard, "What happening there, Hat?" It was something of a mystery why he was called Bogart, but I suspect that it was Hat who gave him the name. I don't know if you remember the year the film Casablanca was made. That was the year when Bogart's fame spread like fire through Port of Spain, and hundreds of young men began adopting the hard-boiled Bogartian attitude. Before they called him Bogart, they called him Patience, because he played that game from morn till night, yet he never liked cards. Whenever you went over to Bogart's little room, you found him sitting on his bed with the cards in 7 lines on a small table in front of him. "What happening there, man?" he would ask quietly, and then he would say nothing for 10 or 15 minutes. And somehow you felt you couldn't really talk to Bogart. He looked so bored and superior. His eyes were small and sleepy. His face was fat and his hair was gleaming black. His arms were plump, yet he was not a funny man. He did everything with a captivating languor. Even when he licked his thumb to deal out the cards, there was a grace to it. He was the most bored man I ever knew. He made a pretense of making a living by tailoring, and he had even paid me some money to write a sign for him. Tailor and cutter, suits made to order, popular and competitive prices. That is what was written on the sign. He bought a sewing machine and some blue and white and brown chalks, but I never could imagine him competing with anyone, and I cannot remember him making a suit. He was a little bit like Popo, the carpenter next door, who never made a stick of furniture and was always planing and chiseling and making what he called mortises. Whenever I asked him, "Mr. Popo, what you making?" he would reply, "Ha, boy, that's the question. I'm making the thing without a name." Bogart was never even making anything like this. Being a child, I never wondered how Bogart came by any money. I assumed that grown-ups had money as a matter of course. Popo had a wife who worked at a variety of jobs and ended up by becoming the friend of many men. I could never think of Bogart as having mother or father. And he never brought a woman to his little room. This little room of his was called the servant room, but no servant to the people in the main house ever lived there. It was just an architectural convention. It was still something of a miracle to me that Bogart managed to make friends. Yet he did make many friends. He was at one time quite the most popular man on the street. I used to see him squatting on the pavement with all the big men of the street. And while Hat or Edward or Eddowes was talking, Bogart would just look down and draw rings with his fingers on the pavement. He never laughed audibly. He never told a story. Yet, whenever there was a fete or something like that, everybody would say, "We must have Bogart. He's smart like hell, that man." In a way, he gave them great solace and comfort, I suppose. And so every morning, as I told you, Hat would shout very loudly, "What happening there, Bogart?" And he would wait for the indeterminate grumble, which was Bogart saying, "What happening there, Hat?" So I'll stop right there for now. Right, I'm going to continue with part 2 in my next video.